It's not as easy as simply being straight growing up. That's just how society is.
I think for me, that was the highest barrier I had to overcome.
Have you ever lied at work and said you had a wife at home?
I was Daniela for many years.
I came out to my audience on YouTube before my parents. Deep TV off. I'm the real show right now.
Yeah, because you're always the real show.
Yeah, they were like, okay, so what's new? Go, listen, guys, I've gotta tell you something. I'm coming out as bi. Their reaction, I was shocked by.
So, do you consider yourself bi today or gay? Or
I just personally, for me, when I was coming out,
I had met this guy. I mean, I will never forget the moment that I kissed him.
Oh, hey guys, I'm Nick.
and I'm Ant.
And we're the new gays.
And I'm Dan.
I'm Frank, and we're the old gays.
And this is Old Gays, New Gays.
This is the podcast where we compare two generations of you.
It's been too long. It's been a week, guys.
This is the podcast where we compare life through the lenses of two generations of LGBT couples.
And today's topic is coming out. So, especially with Pride Month, guys, it's Pride Month. We should be talking about this, celebrating. But yeah, so today's topic is how we came out, as an older gays and younger gays, and how it's changed, like how hard it was for you guys the feedback you guys got, because I'm sure it's very different to our feedback.
It's easier for us in today's generations. Thank you to the old gays.
You're welcome.
Thanks, old gays.
Yes. Well, I think it is. I'd be interesting to hear if it is.
Actually, yeah. Well, I think there will be some differences in terms of.
In fact, I don't think it is easier for the individual. I think there's still a huge burden on us individually that we do feel anxious. We do feel maybe that we don't fit in. It's not as easy as simply being straight growing up. There's no doubt in your mind if you're going to be dating a girl, right? That's just how society is. And no matter how much we campaign for it, I think there's always going to be a normalized thing about a male-female relationship. But internally, I still found it quite hard, despite being a young gay, to come out, and I think that's just a personal battle I had.
I sort of agree with that. I think from a personal level, your feelings, I think we all feel the same things. There's a level of anxiety, stress, because it's quite personal, I think, to you.
Yeah, it is.
But I think the information that you have and the awareness that is out there today versus in our time back in the 80s is actually quite different.
Yeah, I think I would probably hope that this is the situation. I think coming out personally might be as difficult as it was generations. However, the world you're coming out into, I hope is different than the world we came out into.
I think that's totally different.
Yeah.
Thanks to you guys.
Yes.
Should we have like straights come out as straight, just so it's like even?
Do you know what? I was actually thinking of that. I was actually thinking of sort of my coming out, and I'll talk about it and all sort of stuff. But you know what? We have to come out, but the straights don't. I'm thinking that's not fair.
What's going on?
No, I say they should come out, guys.
A lot of histories going on.
Let's petition.
Do you guys think there could be a straight month as well? Because
Wait, no, never mind. I take it back.
They have 12. They have 11 months of the year. I think it's
11
enough.
months.
Straight have 11 months. We have 1 month, and still it's a problem.
That's right.
And the weather's been shit. Give us something, guys. Come on. So yeah, let's talk about all our individual coming out stories. So I think we'll start with one of the old gays to make it interesting. So what were your coming out stories?
So the timing is quite interesting because I think we all have sort of different times in terms of when we came out. For me, it was when I actually told my parents. I think that was for me the time that I feel I came out. And actually, when you think of it, my parents were born in the 1920s. They were part of World War II, all that sort of stuff. So there's a huge gap of information that they just kind of weren't aware of. So it was actually quite stressful. I had massive anxiety. I was so nervous, and I was in my early 30s or something like that. Early mid-30s. Yeah. And, I was with Dan, all that sort of stuff. And the reason why I wanted to come out was because I was with Dan. And I wanted to make sure that my parents treated Dan as they did my sister's husband and my brother's wife. So I wanted him to be treated like sort of all the other
And was
spouses.
that the case? Did your parents treat you the same as your brother?
They always did. Absolutely always did. So I had prepared all this sort of script and all sort of stuff. And I had my cousin Tony, which really supported me with Dan. a PDF presentation.
Did you have graphs in there?
It was really corporate.
PowerPoint presentation,
finance people.
slide 10.
Yes, slide 10.
So what slide did you come out? Slide 20?
I still have
about
them actually.
slide-
Do you want to see?
Oh,
I'll pull them
perfect.
up.
Yeah, pull it up. Yeah.
Okay, so here is your PDF document. Slide 37? Come out to parents.
He's very organized. I love it.
Step
Exactly.
one.
It's organization.
Somebody has to.
Somebody has to.
But yeah, so we had a chat about it. It was myself.
Okay.
I brought my cousin Tony because he's gay. My parents knew he was gay and all sort of stuff,
Okay.
and he was a good support for me. And so I just sort of opened it up. My parents were very, very quiet. They didn't say one word.
Really?
I sort of asked them. I said, "Did you ever think about why I never dated girls?" And the moment I said that, the room went really quiet, and they started sipping their coffees and eating biscuits and trying to get the
Grab the
conversation
shot of
over as much
vodka.
as. Yeah, exactly.
Did you feel in that moment you're about to get disowned?
No, I didn't feel that. What I felt was their nervousness and
Got you.
they didn't know what we were going to talk about. It was out there on the table and all sort of stuff. And so they were really uncomfortable with that. So I felt for them. I didn't feel that I was going to get disowned at that point.
Can I ask you a
also.
question then? Were you more worried about making them uncomfortable than yourself? Or were you also equally worried about rejection or anything?
Probably a little bit of both. But I think there's always that fear of rejection. So yeah, I wasn't sure how they were going to react. But I think I was more concerned about them and what they would think.
So you were protecting them more than
Yeah, I think so. And so we did talk about it. They had nothing to say. And then my mom sort of closed it and she said, "Look, you're our son. We love you no matter what." And Tony said a few words, which was really good. And so
Mama Teresa.
it was fine after that. It was fine. But
Very good,
it was really difficult. I didn't like it. I was super anxious. I was really stressed out. I think, coming out in your mid-30s, I think is a very long time. So you have a lot of pent up emotions and all sort of stuff. And it's a huge thing.
It's interesting how late you had to come out. Because I'm just comparing me, and I might go on to my story next. But I came out when I was 16. So you had like double, you would live double what I lived in the closet, right? So it's just quite interesting.
It's not a competition. We come out when we're ready.
I win.
You do. But I will say to that point, if you compare my parents to your parents, which I went to school with, they're great parents. They're rock stars.
Yeah, good.
They really are.
My dad's going to love that.
But doesn't it come back to the point of view, which you just mentioned? We care about other people's opinions more so. And I think that was the biggest barrier in you coming out was what was your parents going to think of it?
Well, yeah, that's why we're so nervous. I think we're nervous for what people are going to say. So yeah, we do care about what people are going to say. I think, well, especially like your parents. I think that's like very, very, you care what your parents think of you overall, don't you?
And in your case, it was a positive experience. Same with you, and not everyone has that.
And I think a lot of older gay men had to come out in their 30s or even older. I think it's not like not only you. I think just probably most older gay men.
And I will say, that there was, for me anyway, there was a huge sense of relief.
Okay.
I think for me that was the highest barrier I had to overcome because my brother knew I was gay, my sister. My friends, it was just my parents. And I think that barrier for me gave me a huge sense of relief. My anxiety went down. I feel I could live my life. I wasn't worried about, my parents finding out and all that sort of stuff. So it was fantastic. I felt really, really good after that.
That's really good.
Weight off your shoulders.
It was probably not too long after that you finally came out at work because I think you cared less about who else knew after that, right?
Yeah, well, there's some people at work that knew, not many, but then, it was much easier after that,
How did you come out at work? Like, what do you mean? Like, did you just tell other employees you were gay, or?
I didn't actually. So if people asked me about my private life, then I would tell them, my partner's Dan, this is what we do, that sort of stuff. But I didn't I didn't openly come out at work and say, here I am.
Look at me, guys, I'm gay.
But I was comfortable. I was comfortable talking about it. Okay. And I think we will talk about that later on in some of the later episodes, because some of the workspaces weren't particularly nice back in the 80s.
Have you ever lied at work and said you had a wife at home?
Massively,
or just weren't comfortable?
I was Daniela for many years.
And I was Francesca. And I still am sometimes.
Well, I was his friend's cousin, and we'll get into that. So I think we were all different people except you.
that was a common thing, though, for gay men in the 80s to say, my wife, or, I went out with my girlfriend this week and all that sort of stuff. It was a lot of gay guys actually did that. It was, a lot of us were closeted. We stayed closeted for a very, very long time.
Partner now. We'll be like, my partner.
Yeah. You call me your friends. We were getting coffee the other day. These guys were so nice.
No, not because... Okay, I think this should be in the homophobic episode. All right, well, let's go on to the young side and tell one of our coming out stories. I think mine is a bit less interesting, so I'll go first.
Keep it sweet.
Like I said before, I came out when I was 16, so very young.
Yeah.
All compared to, everybody here. And so actually, I came out to my audience on YouTube and my audience in general before my parents. So that's just how comfortable I felt with them, like my audience. But I didn't post the video until I came out to my parents. So I really wanted to post this video. I just wanted to get it out there. So I go, screw this. I'm going to have to go down and say something to my parents. So I made it really dramatic. I was like, Frank, well, not minus the PDF. But so I went down. They were watching TV. I grabbed the remote. I go, deep TV off. I'm the real show right now, okay? And they were like, huh, what's this?
Yeah, because you're always the real show.
Yeah, they were like, okay, so what's new? What's up, babe? So I pause the TV and I go, listen, guys, I've got to tell you something. And I could, like Frank, actually, I just felt the nervousness in their look. And I said, I'm coming out as bi. Their reaction, I was shocked by. So their initial reaction to when I came out was, what is bi? They were like, are you because my mom has 2 gay cousins, one of them being you and then Tony. So she's used to gay.
Yeah.
But they both were like, I don't understand bi. Like, how do you like 2 different genders? They didn't. They couldn't comprehend that, right?
You can like 2 different chocolates. Come on, guys.
I think. Well, anyways, and that was like, and so I think in the moment, I think I was almost looking for like what kind of Frank got, which was like, you're still our son, we love you. But the initial reaction was, what's bi? Like, and just like almost like this interrogation, like, what is bi? What does that mean? Blah, blah. And so, yeah, and I think towards the end, like, I almost started crying because I was like, this is not what I expected. And they were like, no, listen, like, we do love you. We're just actually genuinely concerned, like, not concerned, like, we were just, like, wondering, like, what is bi? Like, so yeah, after I explained to them, like, you can like 2 genders. It is a thing, blah, blah. Then they were fine with it. But yeah, it just wasn't the reaction I thought I would get. So I think in the moment I was like, I broke down a little bit.
Do you think they would have reacted differently if you would have said, I'm gay?
Yeah. 1,000%.
I think so as well.
They would have been like, "Oh, you're still our son."
Yeah.
I think even bi in 2016 was like new to certain people.
What inspired you? Like, what was the trigger where you thought, I'm ready to tell people?
So yeah, I just watched all these other influencers on YouTube coming out, and I said, and I kind of saw like in their comment section, like the kind of like what that meant to their audience. So I go, I need to do this for my audience too, for myself and for them. But I've got to get through this first, which was my parents, right? And so that's what made me want to come out. Okay. Actually, it was just to help my audience out and just so I could be a bit more open on my social media. Because I was like, sometimes I had to like tone my voice down so I sound a bit straighter and stuff like that. So now after that video, it was like, hey guys, what's up? But yeah, no, I think, I was a bit disappointed, but now I know that they love me. And like, even my dad actually was on my channel and he was like telling other parents how to accept their kids for being gay, bi, lesbian, whatever. So, I think they both kind of followed me on my journey and they kind of just said, okay, like, I get it now. So sorry about that.
Well, see, and I know we're going to tell each other stories, but I do think this goes back to how the world is different. Even though your situation of coming out probably was as stressful and scary for you as it was for us, the world around you was starting to come out on social media is what I hear you saying. When we came out, there was nobody else. There was no role model to watch people coming out, right? You were really a virgin when you walked into a situation with your parents. It was like you didn't have all those kind of the feedback that you guys, the feedback loop, I think that you guys got, doesn't make it easier, but I think maybe that's why you came out, comfortable came out so young versus us coming out at a much later age.
Oh, 1,000.
So do you consider yourself bi today or gay or more gay? Or?
Great question. No, I'm gay now. No, I don't, guys, I think it's so hard to say, and I think Ant and I keep saying this, but I think how sexuality works is like a spectrum.
Yeah.
So I think there's two opposite ends, which is super straight and super gay. And I do think to a certain extent I'm more on the gay side, but if a woman is a very specific type, I could actually find that sexually attractive. So I don't think I'm bi because I'm not like in the middle, but I'm gay, and like if the girl was like perfect and like my perfect sexualized whatever, like I wouldn't mind actually. So yeah, but I think we're all on a spectrum. Even like straight people that like are straight, a lot of them go, oh, I mean, I wouldn't mind trying this kind of guy. Well,
for the record, I am 100% grade A Canadian queer.
So you're on that far end.
Far spectrum. It's very clear.
I think
black
it's
and
past
white.
that barricade even.
Exactly. There's just a few of us in that zone.
That's crazy because you had no questions in your mind. That's just you.
It was It was very clear from an early age when you start thinking of those things that I knew that I liked men. There was absolutely no doubt. There was no confusion. Actually, and that part for me was probably easier because then you didn't have to deal with, men, women, what am I, the confusion, all that sort of stuff is a little bit more clear cut.
I think in a way it's almost easier to just be gay or just be straight because there's less confusion almost. And I think it's what like a lot of bis have to deal with is just the confusing or also just people like telling them, so what is it, like girls, guys, and, like that kind of like, you know what I mean? Like we have a bi friend, and if he's dating a girl, everyone's like, oh yeah, sure, he'll try girls and then he'll go back to men. And it's like, okay, guys, it's his preference. If he likes that, he likes that, right? Like I feel like they might deal with like a lot of that, that kind of pressure to only like one gender, which is horrible.
Or just people not believing them, right?
Yeah.
It's like, oh no, we don't believe you. You have to be one or the other.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
I just personally, for me, when I was coming out, I found it so hard to figure out what I liked. Because in front of me growing up, it was always sporty guys influencing me. Which girl did you this week? And I had to get into that culture and be like, just this girl that I met, I got with her, whatever. No, I've been a virgin until I turned 19 and I met Nick. So like, I just lied all the way through my teenage years, pretending that I got with girls because I just thought that was how I had to fit in.
Yeah.
And it almost influenced me so much that I believed myself that I liked girls. And even today, I don't know because I've never been with a girl. And there's aspects like Nick said where it's like, if it's maybe this specific type, then I could be into it. But one thing I do know today is that I 100% like guys.
Yeah, I can confirm that.
But there is still these questions around this side of the spectrum. So that's why I say I came out as bisexual. But really, I only came out as bisexual because I didn't have the experience with girls and I just didn't know. But
do you need the experience with girls? So I mean, I can look at a woman and find her really attractive and all sort of stuff, but I'm not sexually attracted to her, but I can appreciate her beauty and all sort of stuff, but there's that sexual element is not there. But are you saying for you, I don't think I certainly didn't have to experience that to know it in my mind, but is it like that for you when you say, well, I haven't experienced, so I don't know?
I don't know.
Really matter?
Like I just do not know.
Yeah.
But to chime in on this, I think if you're watching porn, I think that's the best way to kind of know, right? And I think if you, I don't know.
I'm not sure.
Because
that's a good indicator.
That's a good point.
If you can find sexually, like if you, like this is getting very personal, but if you could like jack off to a girl, does that not mean there's a sexual drive to that? No?
Look, I've been with both girls and men.
Okay.
So I can't, everybody's experience is going to be unique. It's going to be their own, right?
Yeah.
But when I was with women before I was with men, And so that's part of my coming out story. But the women that I was with before I was with a man were wonderful human beings. I really cared about them a lot. We had a sexual relationship, but the entire time I was with them, I knew something wasn't 100% what I really wanted, right? And so it wasn't like fake it till you make it. It was like I knew that I was going down the wrong course. I was still able to do things, and I was still able to be in a relationship with them. I don't think it was a great relationship for them, but I knew all along what I really wanted and who I really wanted to be. And I was just too afraid to do that, right? And so I wouldn't say I'm bisexual just because I've slept with a woman, because even though I could do that, and I did do it, it wasn't my truth. It wasn't the person I was born to be. I was denying that person. And to be honest with you, part of it too was I really wanted to be with women because I thought that was the only way to have a family, right? I thought I had to get married and have kids, and I wanted kids. And so I thought, well, it's never going to happen if I'm gay. So I'm just going to pretend like I'm not gay. So, I didn't actually sleep with a man until I was 21. And, I think when it comes back to coming out, I think we have to keep coming out all the time. Yeah. Unfortunately, you come out at work, you come out in every social situation you go into. You're like, is this safe? Can I say something? What do I call my partner? That still happens today, right? Yeah. It's easier to do it. More people are more accepting, I think, in the world than they were back then. But you still have to do that all the time. And so I think my first coming out wasn't actually to my family. It was just to myself, right? I had to come out to myself to tell myself that it was okay. And I was 21 years old, and I had met this guy, and he was clearly interested in me. And
it wasn't me.
No, it wasn't you. He was interested in me, and I thought maybe this is a chance to see, if I can do this, or I knew I wanted to do it. And I was with a bunch of friends who I had not come out to, clearly, and he invited me to come back to his friend's house afterwards, who were also gay, and I had to tell my friends I was going home because I didn't feel well, and I had to slip back in the back door to go out with him to his friend's house. And the most amazing thing happened, because I went into his friend's house, and they were there in that environment. They were just naturally being themselves as gay people and normal people, right? They were just gay people in their home living their normal lives, and I had never been around that before. And so instantly I'm thinking, wow, this is amazing. These people, there's an environment of people where they're friends, and they're talking about it, and they're comfortable with it, and they're just normal. And so he invited me to stay the night that night at his friend's house, and I did. And I will never forget the moment that I kissed him, not because it was the most amazing kiss of my life, but it was in that very moment I knew what I was born to be. I knew what was right. I knew what was missing all along in my other relationships. I was meant to be with men. It's what I wanted to do. It's what I was born to be. And it was amazing. And from that perspective, and, so we slept together that night, and he wanted me to stay the night, and I panicked. And I said, no, I got to go. I've got stuff tomorrow morning. I got to go. And I went home, and I crawled into my bed, a 21-year-old, and I crawled in my bed, and I laid there shaking. Completely shaking, out of control. I couldn't control my body. And then I started sobbing. I was crying and crying and crying. I couldn't sleep. And I cried for two reasons. One, because it was the most amazing, wonderful experience to know who I was. And I came out to myself. And I knew at that moment there was no turning back, right? That's who I was going to be for the rest of my life. But also, I came out during an era of AIDS crisis. And I bought into all the media hype and all the horror stories of gay sex and killing yourself. And so I laid there thinking, I'm dead. I laid there thinking I just killed myself. My first time I ever had gay sex, and I also I killed myself. And I remember laying in bed thinking, I'm going to have to tell my parents that I'm gay and I'm dying in the same breath. And and back then, wake up.
Hey. It's okay, babe.
I can sense that, like, that's very, very hard to.
I don't know why I'm crying about it. Maybe it was years ago. Anyways,
did you have a friend that was affected by that?
No. Well, I had many friends. We had a lot of people that died of AIDS. Anyways, back then there was no fast rapid test, right? You had to take a test and you had to wait 2 weeks to find out if you had AIDS or not. A week or 2 weeks, I think it was. It was really horrible.
Yeah, because you had to take a blood test and then they had to send it to the lab and come back. It was literally about 2 to 3 weeks before you found out if you were positive
that would
or not.
kill me.
So I'm sitting there and I remember, you know how you bargain with the higher powers, whatever they are, and I started bargaining, saying, okay, if I'm negative, I'll never have sex with a man again. I'll never have sex with a man again. I'll never have sex with a man again. And it came back and it was negative, and I was relieved. Obviously, I had sex with men again. Yeah. But I took a different strategy after that. What I did was I started reaching out and trying to make friends and build a network. And so I came out to some people that I knew, some friends, and I built a gay life for myself, a safe gay life for myself, making safe choices. And that was a really difficult journey to make, much more difficult for me to make than coming out to my family. I mean, my family's quite liberal. I was nervous, but I thought they would accept me. But actually admitting it to myself and then having to live through the drama of all the negative stuff that gay people had to hear every day in the media all the time. You know, if you have gay sex, you're killing yourself, you're killing other people. It's a horrible thing. So, you know, look, that's my story.
Wow.
Should we end the episode, guys?
You can't beat that, babe. Good luck.
All right. We'll see you in the next one.
It was a reality, though, in terms of every time you had sex as a gay man, you're thinking that's a death sentence.
Wow.
Because you don't know. Somebody could be tested and say, you know, I'm negative, it's fine, but you don't know what they've actually done in the last 2 or 3 days or 4 days or whatever. And it was a constant death sentence, and it was petrifying.
But it goes to show as well, you know, how much, you know, you needed to do this, that you were willing to risk dying.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's just 100% you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are the choices that you had to make. And I mean, look, obviously there's a lot of safe sex, and there's ways. But even back then, we didn't know, right? In the very beginning of AIDS, nobody knew how it was spreading, right? And so you thought if you touched somebody or you drank out of the same glass or you were in the same room with them and breathed the same air, you might get it. And of course, they were pushing this whole agenda that it was all gay and it was a gay disease and the gays, and they were talking about locking gays up.
Oh my
you know
God.
what I mean? I mean, it was a really, really traumatic environment to try to come out into, not just because you were worried what people were going to say. You know, you'd lose your insurance, you'd lose your job, you know, et cetera, if you were positive, but also. You know, I was afraid that I was going to get it every time I had sex. I was really scared I was going to get AIDS every time I had sex, and that's a horrible burden to carry during your kind of blossoming period of discovering yourself.
And I think that really kind of defines the difference between older gays having to come out versus the young ones. Because yes, we both might have been nervous. Yes, all these things, but we did not have to deal with that. You know what I mean?
I'm sorry, but if I were you going through that 20, 30, 40 years ago, I would not have come out. Like, I would have to keep hiding myself.
I'm such a hypochondriac. I would have been like, no. I would have been straight, but like...
Doesn't it go to show that actually, if we reverse it to today's generation, in certain countries, people are still faced with huge burdens. Yeah. Back then, it may have been AIDS for you guys. In today's world, it may be certain countries in the West that it's law that you are not allowed to be gay. And therefore, people in those countries still want to live their truth and come out. And they do come out. And wow, those people are extremely brave people to do that.
Yeah, it's also, you know, a death sentence for them in a way to come out. You know?
They just want to be themselves, and yet their countries are saying no. That's
and so
breaking
doesn't
the law.
that show to those that are like, oh, gay's a choice? It's not a choice
It's
because
not a choice.
if you had the choice to not die, and you know, you would. So
right, it's my turn to try and beat that story.
Good luck.
I resonated with so much you said, and particularly one moment when you said when you had that first gay kiss, that's when you knew and there was no turning back.
Yeah.
And I'd hidden my sexuality, or just couldn't figure it out for all of my life until I met Nick. And at age 19, when I gave you a kiss, gave you a hug, we went on a few dates. That's when I instantly knew that actually, for the first time ever, I am gay, and inside I know.
Yeah.
Or at least I know 100% I like guys.
But it took you a while to come out. So actually, when we were dating, he was straight on paper. So do you want to tell a story about how I was your friend's cousin?
So
Not even friend. Not even friend.
And it's 2 levels away.
Yeah. And this is not even the 80s. This is now.
yeah,
Tell me about it.
we're still people that like myself who are not comfortable with their sexuality can make up lies just to see one another. That's what I did. We spent the most amazing week together when we were 19. You were 18, and I actually introduced him to my parents and my family. I took him around my house, and I just had to call him my friend's cousin, and we're just hanging out.
Where did that come from, though? Why couldn't it just be your friend?
I was under pressure, okay, and it was on the spot.
That's right.
It's the best I could have come up with, all right, and it worked. And in fact, my family didn't realize. My sister saw right through it. It was like red flag, or green flag, but she knew I was lying.
Rainbow flag.
Yeah, rainbow flag. That's right. But yeah, as soon as we were dating for 5 months. I knew that I couldn't keep hiding it from my life because I'd figured it out. I'd been with this amazing person, and I 100% knew that I liked guys now. There's no need to not come out. And the only barrier I was having was the perception my family would have on it.
Yeah.
My sister saw right through. She knew. She comes to talk to me, and then we're talking with my aunt, who's my mum's sister, about it. And it was only when my aunt was like, "Look, your mum is my sister. I know her, and I've known your mum and dad for a lot longer than you have. Not only because I'm adopted, but because of the age difference.
Yeah.
She's been with them my whole life.
Yeah.
And she said to me that they're gonna have no problem. And as soon as she said that, I instantly came out to them. I got the courage, and it was that family support where I went to my parents and I said, "Mom, Dad, I've got a boyfriend, and his name is Nick." And then they were so inquisitive about you. I mentioned, "Oh, remember that one time I brought this my friend's cousin back home?" Yeah, that's Nick. "Oh, the Canadian one?" Yeah, him. And then they were interested about who you were. They asked me so many questions, and most importantly, what they said to me was, "Great, cool. What's the next piece of news?" Because for them, it didn't matter. I was
His
their
parents
son.
are so progressive. Like, I think I said it in the last podcast, like more than me sometimes. But yeah.
What were you afraid of? Were you afraid of anything in telling them in terms of they might
So before I
not
met
agree
Nick,
or
I was most scared of coming out as something that I might not have been. I didn't know if I was straight, if I liked girls, if I liked guys. I was a confused teenager growing up, and I had no clue. It wasn't until I met Nick when I 100% knew. Then the only barrier to coming out was my parents' thoughts. And my friends, I guess, as well.
Well, also, he dated someone. Well, He was seeing a guy even before me, which a lot of people don't know about. And I don't know what happened, but I guess you didn't like him enough, or you like to the point where he thought he was still straight after being with this guy.
So,
Okay.
Hope he's not watching.
That's right.
but that goes down to the point where my first gay experience really raised a lot of questions for me. I was definitely into it, but I think it was my first time, and I freaked myself out that actually maybe I was just talking myself into being straight. I don't know what I was doing, but I freaked myself out. I started crying. I was like, "Oh fuck, it's just too many emotions going on."
Yeah.
And the best thing I could have done for myself was just to say, "I'm sorry. I need to figure myself out." And which is shitty on so many reasons, because I might have led him on for 2 weeks just to cut it off like that, but I just wasn't ready.
You guys, I mean, you were 18, right? Or 17?
19.
19.
I mean, everybody's going through weird sexual stuff, I think, during that time. I think it's hard to learn how to be a sexual person, even if you're straight or gay. But it's doubly hard, I think, for gay people to try to figure it out. And because there's such a stigma attached to everything that you're doing, there's no room to experiment and figure it out. Well done, though.
Yeah,
Well done.
and figured it out today. So that's for sure. Hey.
Okay, so I think it'd be really nice because I guess a lot of our audience, our most asked question is how did you come out? And I think a lot of people are interested in hearing that just because they want to know tips for themselves on how to come out. So I think it'd be really nice to give our audience tips on how to come out in case they are like us and they're really, really scared of it. And yeah, so I think we should all go around and kind of give our opinion.
My tip would be for the baby gays out there that are still not out.
Even younger than the youngest.
To get the courage to do it early in life so you don't have to spend the rest of your life hiding, being stressed out about people trying to find out. It is a huge relief when you come out and then you normalize your life. And then what you find is the people that love you stick around, and the people that don't and are mean and all that sort of stuff, you don't need them in your life, and you can move on with your life and have a really nice life. But I would encourage everybody to get the courage to come out early, not like I did in my early mid-30s.
That's really good.
I think to add to that, actually, onto that, I would say don't feel like you have to out yourself to everybody all at once. Do it in stages if that's what you're comfortable with, and start with people that you feel safe with, right? If it's a friend, if it's a family member, if it's an aunt, if it's a cousin, really find the people who you feel safe with and start there, and then build on that. You don't have to run out into the world and scream "I'm gay" to absolutely everybody, at one time.
I did. YouTube. Sorry.
Right. Well, if it works, it works, right? But that doesn't work for everybody. I say find a safe place to do it the first time you're doing it, so that you can build the courage to keep moving on.
Yeah, going off of both your points, yes, I was going to say the same thing, like, come to someone that they feel safe with. Though, if you are in a dangerous situation, so, country, or whether that's maybe religion or parents, or just be very, very safe. So just know what the kind of consequences could be from coming out. And if it is like, not life or death, but if it could end badly by you coming out, what I suggest is just to work hard in life, build up your life so that you can get out of that toxic environment, and then once you're safe and you're in a safe environment, then come out.
In my perspective, I just realized this, but before I came out, I had almost normalized it across my social media, and we went strawberry picking, and I had a picture of you on my back, and I had posted that on Instagram. So once I posted that, it was almost like me coming out, but I didn't do it in a way where I screamed it. I just normalized it as it's a part of me and it's a part of my life. Like posting anything on social media. Oh, I like football. I like this. I like guys now.
Picking strawberry with a man on your back. That's gay.
That's
pretty gay.
That's right. Yeah.
Go to an orchard with your partner.
I'm kidding. Is this your coming out? Question mark.
I'm kidding.
I think what I'm trying to say with this is
to wink on his back.
Kidding.
Still be straight, guys.
I think, Ant, though, it's similar to what Frank was saying at work, is you don't have to tell people you're gay.
You can
just talk about your gay people in your life as if you were an everyday normal situation.
Exactly. And the one thing I've noticed since coming out, I've gained an awful lot of confidence. I'm living my truth, and that's the only reason I'm more confident in life. I'm happier, and like you said, it's just weight off your shoulders.
And that's the case for all of us, I think. Yeah,
absolutely.
And just the last point. Sorry, Tony, for outing you on this podcast.
He's gonna love that.
The world knows that you're gay now.
All right, guys, that's it for this episode. Hope you guys enjoyed. And of course, guys, if you have any questions in the comments, we are there to help you guys out. So if you have any more questions about coming out, let us know, message us, DM us, and we'll be here to answer all your concerns or questions.
Wherever you guys are streaming this podcast from, don't forget to follow the show and keep up to date with all the notifications. And when episodes do come out, you can be the first one to tune in. And it will really, really help us out if you rate the show on Spotify, Apple, wherever you're consuming it, a 5-star.
It's Pride Month as well. Help the gays out.
That's right.
Without further ado, we'll see you in the next one.
Bye.
Bye.